Good evening and welcome to the City Council meeting of the City of Lenoir for Tuesday, January the 5th, 2021. Our first meeting of this new year, and thank goodness we have made it to 2021. So we're very excited about that, and thank you for all being with us tonight and being a part of this. We have several of our council members here, and I'm going to go ahead and, while we're setting things up in here, to go ahead and do the roll call of who that we have here, and then after that we will do our moment of silence and our pledge of allegiance, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. So I'm going to start with the roll call first. Here in the chamber, myself, the mayor, Jonathan Beal, Councilmember Jonathan Beal, Councilmember Ike Perkins, Councilmember David Stevens, and Councilmember Ben Willis are here with me in the chamber. Also Joshua Harris, our communications director, is here, and Chief Brent Phelps, our chief of police, is also here. So we thank you. Now, for those that are on Zoom, I will call, if you will, please answer Mayor Pro Tem Chrissy Thomas.
I'm here.
Thank you. Councilmember Todd Perdue.
I'm here.
Yes, sir. Councilmember Ralph Presswood. And see Ralph yet, so we'll go with that. Our city attorney, TJ Rohr.
Present.
Yes, sir. Rohr, thank you for being here. City clerk Shirley Cannon. I know that she is here. Our city manager is zooming with us tonight, Mr. Scott Hildebrand. Scott, glad that you were with us.
I'm here.
Yes, sir. All right, our department heads, Finance Director Donna Bean.
Here.
Donna, glad to hear your voice. I hope you are doing okay.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Our Fire Chief Ken Hare.
I'm here.
Economic Development Director Kaylin Horn.
I'm here.
Parks and Recreation Director Kenny Story.
Here.
Public Utilities Director Radford Thomas.
Here.
Our Planning Director Jenny Wheelock.
I'm here.
Thank you. And our Public Works Director Jared Wright.
Here.
Thank you. I think I've got everybody, and we also mentioned that we had our ABC board and director of our ABC store, Mike Sutter, that are with us tonight. Thank you for that. We're going to go into that after we do our moment of silence. Do that. And if there's anyone from the news topic that's with us, we welcome you as well on here. So thank you. So as we get started for our moment of silence, I would like to just say some things that we need to keep in our thoughts and prayers. Certainly, the family of our firefighter and great friend, Richard Bush, and we thank the family, and I know they've been through a hard time with the fire that they had, and we appreciate everyone being so supportive of them. I hope that will continue, and I know, Chief, you are working with your staff and doing a whole lot of great things for that, and we will certainly want to keep Richard and all of his fine family in our thoughts and prayers as we go forward. Also, the family, of course, Officer Zach Porthrius, and the loss of our K-9 officer, Axel. We certainly will miss him and all the work that he did for our police department, and we want to keep your family in our thoughts and prayers as well. Also, would like to just recognize, all the things that have been going on over the last few days, especially this field hospital that has been built over at Caldwell Memorial. We want to thank everyone involved there, Duke Energy, City of Lenoir, Caldwell County, everyone and of course all the hospital staff, everyone that has been working so hard to put that up and in operation. That has been an amazing accomplishment for the last few days, and I'm so sorry that we have to have it, but we do. And thank goodness that we have people like Samaritan's Purse who would put this thing together and bring it all to us here to help. 30-bed field hospital that is now in operation in our parking lot there at Caldwell Memorial. So thank everyone for being involved there, and all that we will keep everyone involved in our thoughts and prayers as we continue to fight through this terrible pandemic that we're going through. It has been spiking over the last few weeks, and we need to continue to pray and ask people to be as safe as they can and continue to follow all the guidelines. Mr. Willis, or was someone you wanted to mention too before we go to this time?
Yeah, a lot of people know how important the community college is to our community. And if you drive by there, you'll see that the flags are at half mast, and that's because of the loss of Penny Wisnut, who is she was like a mom over there. There's a lot of people that make that thing work, and she was an important one. So please think of her and her family. Much love to Penny Wisnut and those guys.
Thank you, Mr. Willis, thank you. I know she was a hard, working person at the community college and loved it very much, and she will be sorely missed. So, if you will, please rise now and join us for our moment of silence, and keep all of these things in our community in your thoughts and prayers. Thank you. Please salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We will start tonight with our annual audit report. Normally, if we were under normal times, we would be having a joint meeting with our fine ABC board and ABC staff. And well, since we're in this situation we're unable to do that. But we are getting together tonight over Zoom to hear the reports and of the annual audit. And I will recognize Mr. Mike Sudred, the ABC board, and Mr. Steve Huntley whenever you're ready to go ahead and present your report. And welcome to you. Thank you for all you've done during this year. I know it's been a tough time as well there, and you guys have done everything you can to keep safe and keep your customers and people coming in as safe as you possibly can. And we appreciate what you've done working together on that kind of thing. So welcome, glad you're with us, and we'll go ahead and let you, Jerry, I know you're the chair of the board, I'll let you handle it and go from there. Thank you.
You sound muted.
Yeah, I think you're muted.
Okay, I believe you can hear me now.
Yes, sir.
All right. We are very happy to appear before you this evening, Mayor, to report to you a very good year with your ABC board and ABC system. The one thing I do want to talk about and brag about just a little bit before I turn it over to Steve Huntley for the details is the month of December, we set an all-time record in sales for the ABC stores, some $530,000 in 1 month, which is just fantastic. It nets down for that 1 month to somewhere around $74,000 in pure profits after distribution. So we're holding up our heads and very proud of that. A little tired, but still have done a good job and off to really good starts for this year. With that, I'm going to let Mr. Huntley take us over and carry us into what we did last year, which here again was a new record for the ABC system. So Steve, you go ahead and take it from there.
Okay. Thank you all for having me. I heard the news about Betsy getting her shot. I tried today to find one. Nobody knew what to do yet. But I'll take you all to page 7 of the financial statements, and I'll try to go through about 6 items. Keep it short as I can. Page 7, the cash. You're up by about $50,000. If you go down to the bottom of the page where it says unrestricted fund balance, you'll look at 406, which is your best fund balance ever. Of course, they retain very little of their income, and if you'll pop to the next page, I'll show you that. Page 8, sales in 19 were 3.6, sales in 20 were 4.2 million. So like he's saying, probably one of the best years they've ever had. And it sounds like it's continuing. I'll drop on down to operating expenses. You'll look at 537 in operation expenses last year, 569 operating expenses for this year. Your gross profit from sales were up about $100,000. Your expenses were only up about 30. Going down, you'll see changes in net position before profit distribution were 449 versus 343. Distributed 445,000 this year, 314,000 last year, and most of it went to the town. So congratulations. You will see that their net change is only $4,600. They basically distributed everything they had to the town and the alcohol education and law enforcement. Now, let me try to get you back over to page 17. 17 and 18, I just wanted to show you the distributions to the various entities. City, the law enforcement was 18,000, page 18. You'll see Caldwell House at 17, DARE at 7 for the county and the city DARE program. And then again, the distributions to the city of Lenore, 400,000 versus $9 million over the life of the entity. And then the administrative unit at schools, 45,000, $1 million for the life of the entity. We'll go over to page 19. Again, I'm trying to go through this fast. If y'all got a question, just speak up. Page 19, working capital requirements. Minimum was 126, maximum was 891, and y'all are at 521. So you're on the higher side, but they distribute everything they make, so which is a good thing. Page 27 and 26 and 27 are the budget by state statute, which is not the same as your net income up front. They budgeted page 26. They budgeted 3.6 million, revised the budget after about 6 months, went up to 4.3 and nearly made that 4.2. There are no overages in their budget category. So they've done a really good job of monitoring their expenditures and making budget amendments. I'm not sure how many you made during the year, at least 2 that I'm aware of, and maybe 3. Page 27. Again, this is not a GAAP financials, which the upfront ones are, or they call enterprise in governments. Budgeted to spend 887, revised that budget to $1,098,000, ended up spending $1,057,000 with net increase of 6,200 here. And then down at the very bottom, that's reconciling the changes in net position from the budget to the government, which is basically depreciation in equipment that they bought. Now I know that was quick. I'm not used to Zoom. I couldn't get mine at the house working, couldn't get the volume going, so I drove down here real quick. So I'll take any questions or let Jerry follow up.
Any questions for Mr. Huntley or anyone with our ABC commission and Mr. Sudreth, the general manager? So like everybody's pretty happy with what we've heard.
You should be.
We're very happy to point out to you that this $400,000 that we put back in the city's budget this past year was an all-time record.
Yes, sir.
And we appreciate it too.
Yes, sir, we do.
Very much.
Very much so. It comes to the time where things are, still up in the air from all that's happened during this year of COVID, and so any additional funding like that is welcome, and certainly will be put to the best use possible in the operation of our city. So we thank you for that, and thank you for how things have been going there. We're really pleased. we've been following, by our monthly meetings and new things have been consistently going well. And I'm glad that it's been that kind of year. And I've talked to Chief about it several times. I don't think anything's crime-wise has been worse, so that's a good thing. Hope there's not anything happening like that. So that's hopefully a good situation all the way around for us. We appreciate it very much.
This concludes our presentation, Mayor.
Sir, thank you, Jerry, and John and Betsy, for all you do, being a part of that board. Your service is well appreciated, and we thank you for that. Betsy, I know, also serves on the state ABC board, and we appreciate getting those reports from that. Betsy, anything going on there that you want to share?
No, things have been quiet, which is, I would say, a good thing.
Betsy, do you see other areas, other ABC boards having success like we have?
Yes, it's up all over the state.
That's right.
Yes, it's been a banner year for ABC sales for sure.
You want to say that?
Mike, anything you want to add to all this, and what's operations and how things are going at the stores? I know you guys have really worked hard to keep everything as safe as you can. The times I've been there for the meetings, everyone is wearing the mask and having everyone coming in following the protocols and all that. So hope that's been good for you.
Yes, you got to have a mask on when you come in to visit or purchase anything. But probably a couple of things I wanted to highlight a little bit were we had our first product tasting at the beginning of December. Went really well. So helped support one of the local distilleries, and it was well received by everyone that came by and tried a little bit. So we were happy that went over real well, and we're trying to get Chris Hollyfield back up and running. We got a couple of his products in, and they're doing real well. Did real well over the holidays. Sold over 50 bottles of his products. So we got a local guy making, and just everything's going well.
Great, good to hear. Glad that things are moving. We wish Chris and his opportunities the best of fortune for that, and hope things will continue to move well for them here locally. So, thank you. Anything else that you'd like to bring before the council? If not, thank you very much for being with us. And if you guys are welcome to stay for the meeting, if not, we'll let you go off at this time and enjoy your evening. And thank you for what you do. And hopefully we will see you when times change here over this next few months.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we will move on then to tonight. We have a special recognition for, as we talked about earlier, for our K-9 officer, Axel. Axel, as you guys all know, passed away over the last few weeks. He was going in for retirement and unfortunately passed away before that. But we have a special recognition tonight. We recognize his trainer and his partner, Zachary Poitras, and we're glad that he and his family are with us tonight. And we have a special recognition that we're going to come down and present to the family in honor of Axel. Where would you like this? This is right here is great. Welcome, sir. Hey, how are y'all? Good. And this is a proclamation in recognition of Axel, and it was 6/30/2013 through 12/29 of 2020. Whereas K-9 Axel was born on June 30th, 2013 in the Czech Republic and imported to the United States, where he was purchased by the Lenore Police Department in August of 2014. And whereas K-9 Axel began his training in September of 2014 by Patrol Sergeant Zachary Poitras, while he obtained his comprehensive police service dog trainer and police service dog team instructor certifications. And whereas K-9 Axel was officially certified to work in October of 2014 and was the first Lenore Police Department K-9 to be dual certified by 2 certifying associations. And whereas K-9 Axel, in his 6 years of service, has been instrumental in the seizure of illegal drugs in the community, an asset in tracking suspects, missing persons, and lost children, as well as been a delight into various audiences with his demonstrations and training. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the mayor, myself, and the city council of the city of Lenore acknowledge Police K-9 Axel's loyal and dedicated service to the citizens of Lenore and to his handler, Patrol Sergeant Zachary Poitras. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, as mayor of the city of Lenore, and on behalf of Lenore City Council, the citizens of Lenore, and the department members of the Lenore Police Department do hereby offer our most sincere condolences, thoughts, and prayers to Sergeant Poitras and his family on the loss of Police K-9 Axel, who passed away on December 29, 2020, due to a sudden illness. His service and dedication will be long remembered. Witness my hand and seal this the 5th day of January 2021. And we thank you so much for then Chief, we'll let you speak, and then we'll shoot a picture.
Let's take one.
Very quickly, our original plan tonight, Mayor and Council, was to retire Axel this evening. He has served the city well. Unfortunately, with his decline in health, we were unable to accomplish that tonight, but we still wanted to publicly recognize Axel and Sergeant Poitras and his family for their service and dedication to the city and the police department. Around the end of October, 1st of November, Sergeant Poitras received news that Axel was diagnosed with an advanced type of cancer. The good news with this, if there is good news, is Axel didn't suffer and was in no pain during his last couple months. The hard news was the Poitras family and the police department realized what this diagnosis meant. These next statements are from Sergeant Poitras. Josh Harris put these out in the statement, and in reading that, I felt like he could say it better than I could. Sergeant Poitras stated, some people will say that it's just a dog, but they overlook the impact these dogs have on people's lives. Axel has proven his dedication and love for the people of the police department in the city of Lenore. I would like to express my deepest gratitude for the support of the police department and everyone at the department, all the messages and support we've received during this time. Poitras stated that in addition to all of Axel's documented achievements, and if you read Mr. Harris's press release, there are a lot of them. One success that is impossible to measure is the number of times Axel saved lives. Poitras stated, we can fill up pages with his stats, but the stats we will never know are the countless times he saved my life, another officer's life, or a citizen's life by doing his job by nothing more than just his mere presence. Poitras stated it will never be known the amount of times someone's mind was changed or a situation was de-escalated just by Axel being there. In talking to Sarge over the last couple days, he told me a story about a time where there was an individual that we believe was armed and was trying to elude the police department, like sometimes folks do. This individual was running on foot. It met the criteria to use one of our dogs, and he used Axel's assistance to apprehend him. Axel did exactly what he was trained to do. He went and took custody of this individual. And at that moment, that individual realized that it was more important for him to stop what he was doing than to keep trying to get away. Immediately, Sergeant Poitras gave the command to turn loose. Axel did exactly what he was trained to do. He turned loose. As the sergeant's handcuffing the individual, the gentleman looks up over his shoulder at Sergeant and says, "Man, that's a good dog." And as we talked about that, what I realized was just as when people have an interaction with a well-trained professional police officer, they know it. Well, that occurs with canines as well. When they have an interaction with a well-trained canine, they know it as well. And that story shows that. And that's an example of those times where people's lives were saved. That individual, even though he was trying to escape from us, may have been injured if he hadn't stopped. We want to thank this council for the support over the years. Our program, we get reached out to by agencies all over the state and other states, and that comes from the support of the city leadership. Over the years, we want to thank Rebecca Wisner with Call Animal Hospital for her treating Axel over his life, and especially the last several months. Lastly, I want to thank Sergeant Porthers for his dedication, for the hours in the heat, in the cold, in the rain, in the dry, training, maintaining, and providing care for Axel over his career. And to Ashley and the kids, thank you for the love that you showed Axel as a part of your family. Thank you.
Yeah, let's get a photo. Let's get a photo, family. With the mayor and the chief and the family.
Council, come in, we'll let you just stay back, we'll move back this way.
Go that way a little bit.
This way?
All right there, that's good.
Okay. Got everybody behind?
All right, 1, 2, 3. Smile with your eyes. 1, 2, 3. I'm good. Thank you.
Got it? Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. It's always meant to y'all. Thank you very much for that special recognition. Thank you, Sergeant Porthers and his family. I know they'll miss Axel very much, but hopefully they'll bring another one in and they can love and train him or her, whatever, and when they come in and have another great job. Appreciate the service. All right, we'll move on then to matters scheduled for public hearing tonight. We have a public hearing on, this is Chapter 160D legislation. This hearing will be held in the City Council to consider North Carolina General Statutes 160D. This is ordinance updates as presented by our planning director, Jenny Wheelock, regarding legislation adopted by the General Assembly pertaining to Chapter 160D. This law also makes technical and clarifying amendments to Chapter 160D. Please note the council, we will defer this action on the adoption of the submitted ordinance until our January 19th, 2021 City Council meeting due to current legislation guidelines pertaining to public meetings. The legal ad for the public hearing was published in the news topic Friday, December 25th, 2020, and again on Friday, January 1st of 2021. So I'll recognize our planning director, Jenny Wheelock, with the presentation for this Chapter 160D legislation. Jenny?
All right, thank you. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
I lost my video when I shared my screen, so you'll have to sort of speak up and unmute yourself if you want me to stop because I can't see anyone. I'll try to go through this pretty quickly. It's not the most interesting ordinance that I've ever worked on. I mean, it was interesting for me, but very technical ordinance based on changes to the state statutes. There we go. So in your packets, I'm not going to go through it tonight, but there was a checklist developed by the School of Government that I leaned pretty heavily on in writing the ordinance, and then my staff and also the city attorney, I think, used it pretty heavily to review the ordinance. So all of my notes are available in there. Happy to answer any questions if there's anything that didn't make sense, but that sort of tracks and makes sure that I addressed everything, all of the little tiny things that are in this new legislation. One of the big things, and y'all are probably sick of hearing me say it, is that we don't have conditional use permits anymore. We've got special use permits. They're the same. It's just now we have consistent language across the state to talk about them. This ordinance uses the same philosophy that I try to apply to all of the code amendments that we do, streamlining, being consistent in our terms between chapters, setting up clear expectations, code that makes sense to the layperson to read, but also for staff to have clear things to cite in our notices. So we're not piecing together little pieces of the ordinance from various sections that were added in over time. There are some fixes of little typos and errors that we didn't catch when we did the zoning overhaul. There's just a couple of things between versions somehow that slipped through and some typos. So you'll see some stuff in there, nothing material. I think one is instead of eating and drinking, it says eating and driving. At least it doesn't say drinking and driving, but we'll fix that. All right, I wanted to take this chance. The conflict of interest standards, they haven't changed, but they're codified now or proposed to be codified. And since this is a decision-making board, I'd like to take a couple minutes to go over them. With individual projects, you can always reach out to me or the manager or the city attorney to talk through a particular conflict you might have. But for any type of case that comes before the council, quasi-judicial or legislative, that relates to these land use types of things covered in 160D. You can't participate if you've got a close relationship with the landowner or the applicant, or the outcome is likely to have direct, identifiable financial impact. So if you are a sign manufacturer that only makes wooden sandblasted signs and the ordinance would require that you only could have wooden sandblasted signs, that might be something where you probably would have an impact on your business. You might want to think about excusing yourself from that vote. When we get into the quasi-judicial cases, there are additional conflicts that would render you unable to participate. If you have a fixed opinion prior to the hearing, if you've talked about the case prior to the hearing but haven't disclosed it, you have any financial interest in the outcome, or you've got a close relationship with an affected party. So somebody that may be trying to appeal that, or the next door neighbor or something like that, and you're close with them, that may also be something that you'd need to recuse yourself. So these will be codified. I just wanted to mention briefly and go over those. Do I have any questions about conflict of interest? All right, no. Move on. The appeals board, the Board of Adjustment, is a great board, and they know how to do appeals and quasi-judicial hearings. Right now, they're the appeals board for administrative decisions in the housing ordinance and the zoning ordinance and the stormwater ordinance. But if we have a disagreement about an administrative decision made about the building ordinance or the floodplain ordinance or the subdivision ordinance, the appeals board is actually city council. So we do have a situation where I could be reviewing a project, make a determination under both the zoning and floodplain codes, and have two different appeals process for essentially what is the same decision. So the proposed new ordinance would make the Board of Adjustment the appeals board for all of those, which makes sense because this is not a public hearing type of thing or a political thing. This is a very technical, based on sworn testimony. So that's the proposal, and the Board of Adjustment is comfortable with that. I wanted to go over a little bit of the minimum housing ordinance, since that's another thing that comes before this board fairly regularly and has been a hot topic of conversation for years. Nothing has changed in our process, but our existing ordinance is sort of archaic. I think it was written off of several versions ago of the statutes. So we cleaned it up, and I wanted to spend just a few minutes in the ordinance talking about kind of the way we look at housing under this new, more cleaned up language. It's very specific now that there are two types of buildings that are regulated under this ordinance and declared to be detrimental to public health and safety. It's a nuanced difference, but it's never been very clear in the code before. We've got occupied structures that are unfit for human habitation. That's where usually we're getting calls from tenants about things that their landlords are allowing to not be fixed or might be unsafe. And then we also have abandoned structures. And the authority under the statutes is clearer, in my opinion, under 160D, that the same process is applied to both of these things. So as we talk about unfit for human habitation, all of that is considered to include the abandoned structures that aren't necessarily being let out that way, but may attract, squatters or something like that. So two very similar things I wanted to point out. The process, and this is before it gets to counseling, hasn't changed, but I think it's clearer now. The housing inspector gets a complaint or observes a violation. He conducts his initial investigation. He may do a full inspection inside the premise if he's given access or we have an administrative warrant, or he might just do a drive-by and see, yes, this is an abandoned structure, and that gives him enough information. He then serves notice of complaints and the notice of an administrative hearing. This is the only place we do administrative hearings under the code. So the housing inspector conducts that hearing. He does it on site. Very rarely do the owners show up, but when they do, it's a great opportunity to kind of walk through the property and point out these are the things that need to be fixed. Following that, he makes findings of fact, and he issues a final order. And under the code, we've got between 30 days to 90 days, a range that's sort of at his discretion to require. And then finally, if that owner of the property fails to comply with the order, then there's that process for city council to adopt the ordinance that you all are familiar with. So under the housing chapter, it's either deteriorated or dilapidated. Deteriorated means it can be repaired, dilapidated means it can't. We're proposing to wipe this standard that ties it to 50% of the tax value, because we've got some extraordinarily low valued properties out there where a new roof would automatically render them dilapidated under the old definition. So this opens up some wiggle room for him to be reasonable with the owners and say, come on, can we fix this or can't we? And then make his order based on that. If it's deteriorated, the order is to make repairs. If it's dilapidated, the order is to demolish or remove. You see that language throughout because we apply these to mobile homes. And so demolition is a little confusing. It's actually removal of that structure. And then there's a third order that we don't get into very often under our current process, but is clearer under the new ordinance, is this order to vacate and close. And it's a separate order besides the deteriorated and dilapidated. And that's where the housing inspector can order that the structure be closed and no one be allowed to stay there. And it has to do with the types of violations. Now, I think it gets more complicated with evictions and what's going on with the courts and everything, and that's silent in the statutes. But I made the code match the statutes so that we can include those in our orders where appropriate. So after we get through that, hopefully this is very rare, but if they fail to abate, council can adopt an ordinance authorizing the inspector to effectuate his order. We record those ordinances with the Register of Deeds. And those ordinances can also contain the language to vacate and close. The cost of our abatement is a lien on the property, same as taxes. And then once an ordinance is adopted, we can actually go post a placard on the door that says declare, unfit for human habitation. And it's a class 1 misdemeanor to occupy it. I have looked everywhere because I would like to post that placard when the housing inspector gives his order and has determined that it's dilapidated or deteriorated. There's no legal authority, it appears, to do that, at least with any teeth. It comes later in the process. So we've left it alone. That's how it is. I just wanted to make that note. Sometimes it can be frustrating that somebody's inside an unsafe structure, but we've got to give them some time to get out and follow the law.
Jenny, you can't post anything there? It's against, it has no teeth, but does it mean you still can do it or not?
I believe, as a matter of practice, and I really do need to talk to TJ about this, and I haven't talked to him about this yet, but what I'd like to do, at least on the abandoned structures, is have a placard that would at least say the city's aware of it. No one should be here. It wouldn't give the authority for like the police to arrest somebody for being there. But it at least could give some indication to the neighborhood that, we sometimes work 6 months back and forth on these cases and the neighbors don't know. So all they see is an abandoned house. And so some type of, for the fire department and the community, I'd like to still explore it, but it doesn't look like it would have any sort of enforcement teeth. It would just be something we posted on the door.
Okay, thank you.
All right. I want to move on to the zoning ordinance changes, and this is the last two things. We talk about minor modifications and the planning board review of special use permits. Minor modifications is something that I've always done my entire time working as a planner in current development. It's implied in the process. You approve conceptual plans for conditional use permits and conditional zoning. It makes sense that conceptual plans shift a little bit with all the technical details worked out. But now in the new language in the statute, you have to specifically give me that authority and define it. And that makes a lot of sense because we don't want major changes happening. So this kind of unofficial authority that I've always sort of applied now will be defined in the code. Minor modifications can be approved only when the changes still comply with all the written conditions and standards. The changes are necessary to comply with the development regulation or to accommodate a physical site constraint that wasn't known. For example, sometimes they go for DOT permitting and they say, oh, we can't have the driveway there. You've got to provide more space, and that has to shift around a little bit. Well, we wouldn't want to send them back to a public hearing for something so minor. And then it also says the changes wouldn't significantly alter the development's general function, form, intensity, character, demand on facilities. It's the same project. It just has a little bit of changes from the conceptual plan. And it's important to note that any type of minor modification approved administratively, whether a neighbor doesn't like it or the owner doesn't like it, it can always be appealed to the Board of Adjustment like any administrative decision. So there's still sort of a day in court if something was to go awry. It limits the ability to do minor modifications by specifically defining these things as major modifications, which have to go back to the board. A change in a condition or a change in the text of a conditional zoning ordinance, a change in what uses were allowed, a change in the density of the overall development. And then these last two, they're good standards and they got them from a model ordinance the School of Government provided. I don't think they apply to any project that we have done in Lenoir in the past. But sometimes you've got mixed use projects that are approved, 5 stories of office and 5 stories of residential. And then the market changes and they want to do 2 stories of office and 8 stories of residential. Within a certain guidelines, shifting land use ratios like that won't have a huge impact. But sometimes the traffic patterns are different. So that's where those last two standards kind of come in with trying to find those ratios to be flexible to the market, but still fair and predictable, and that the project is what you all approved. And the planning board liked this example, so I included it. This is what this looks like. Cat's Corner Apartments, you'll all remember it. Original project was 68 units and 5 buildings and a community building, had to build a driveway off Wilkesboro and off Lower Creek Drive, and had 136 parking spaces. In between the time they got approval, we changed the parking code to reduce the parking requirements for all projects. And the site was resurveyed, and the survey was found to be off by about 8 feet on the existing grade, which caused some technical issues from how they'd originally proposed it. So that was the original site plan. You'll recall there were those split story, 1 story, 2 story, and then 2 story, 3 story buildings. And so then as a minor modification, they couldn't get the slope to work for the driveways. They proposed to eliminate it. They relocated the clubhouse based on some requirements of the financing agency. The grade changed the way they had to do those 1-2 story splits, so it became a 1-3 story split. And then there were some height reductions and parking reductions throughout the site. So this is what it ended up looking like. I would say this is the most that I would ever feel comfortable approving administratively, but because everything they did was either less intense with the neighborhood, in keeping with the original conditions, and making it, nothing went against any of the discussion or conditions. So I felt pretty comfortable with this meeting code. So this would be now a formalized process in the code for me to engage in these types of discussions with developers in between special use permit approval and building, the issuance of building permits and dirt moving on the site. Any questions there? Okay. All right, this is the last thing I've got here. And this is the language straight from the ordinance, because I wanted to make sure that you all were aware of this. This is the planning board review of special use permits. The School of Government kind of recommends against this, but it's very common practice in both the council and the planning board independently and overwhelmingly told me we want to keep this 2-board review process. So what's going to change is it's specifically defined as a preliminary forum. They can hear citizen comments, and we're going to notice them exactly as we would the quasi-judicial hearing at council. They can make requests of the applicant to say, we recommend that you bring the following additional information to the council because we think that's important. That wouldn't be binding on the applicant, but staff would forward all that information to council as well. So during the hearing, that might be part of the findings of fact, is that the planning board thought that this information should be provided and the applicant chose not to. And they can make recommendations to revise or add conditions. So things about the site planning and the conditions. However, no part of the forum can be used as the basis for the decision by city council. And planning board will no longer be sending recommendations of, we recommend you approve this project. It's going to be entirely related to technical site planning and trying to get the site plan in a better shape voluntarily from the applicant prior to going to the quasi-judicial hearing at city council. So it'll be a little bit different. And I think, I don't know if TJ wants to add anything on this one. We've had some conversations about how we hold those hearings, but that might be a topic for another night.
I really don't have anything to say about the legality of it. If the planning board and the council have decided they want to have this, that's certainly a policy decision they can make.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to move on. And so this is pretty much the last slide I have. I just wanted to let y'all know what's coming next and what. What's that?
Sorry, I have a question.
Not a question.
About that,
Okay.
because we know that those are the most fun meetings that we have, when we have those types of things. So you're basically, this is basically saying that, I'm just trying to go over in my head. The planning board still does what the planning board does. But when you're not gonna send us recommendations or anything that says that they're in compliance with all the regulations or anything. So we're gonna have to figure that out on our own as a council?
No, so I will still send you a recommendation. You'll have a recommendation from staff, and you'll have some recommended conditions that have been culled over and modified by the planning board. And then what we talked about at the planning board level is it is going to be more kind of a discussion or a forum. It'll be a chance to educate the neighborhood on the process and what we're doing and what we're not doing. I think a little bit better than maybe we have. And it would be a chance for them, to look at the site planning and say, really, those two huge buildings there don't make any sense. Could you break them up into 4? And then the developer says, well, yeah, that's a good idea. And the neighbor likes it. By the time it gets to council, the plan you'll see is 4 buildings. And then you'll also know that the planning board made that recommendation. So I'd give you the entire record, and the summary and recommendations, but the planning board will not have a statement that they make a motion. We recommend approval of this special use permit to the council.
Jenny, this sounds like a good thing. Once again, it's people who have better experience than this council
Right.
making those kind of helpful decisions to prepare us to reply on it.
Right.
I would look at them almost like some communities use technical review committees, where they would send projects to a committee of experts prior to having any type of political or judicial action on it. So it's different, but I think it's nuanced in the differences.
Well, and what we always see is it's an educational piece.
Right.
Because it's like you just said, that we spend more time going over the rules about what we can't, it's not our choice. This will allow us to have that an educational moment where all those details can be worked out at that level before it gets to us. We don't have to have these people yelling at us and we're just like, no,
Well, it's
Right.
the details that by people that have knowledge.
that's right. They know how to do this.
Right.
So, no, I think that is a good thing. I just
So
want to make sure.
I'll brag on the planning board just a minute, because I understand completely why the council would want the planning board to still review. But those meetings get just as heated at planning board, and they were very strongly of the same opinion that they wanted to have those meetings. So you've got a board that could have got out of it and chose not to, because they look at that as their role to help do that community interaction. So I just can't say enough good things about our planning board right now. Technically that's 3 boards, the Board of Adjustment, the planning board, and the Historic Preservation Commission are all the same individuals, and they're rock stars. So when you see them, tell them, because they're doing a really good job for y'all.
It's an important process. I think that people need to come to us if they want to. I'm not complaining about that, but it's just, I'm glad that this is taking place, because I think that process at every level is important.
Yeah, a lot more knowledge.
Yeah.
And once again, I think it gives us better information
It does, I agree.
to make the decisions.
Okay.
Yep. So it'll be information that's part of the record and presented, rather than kind of tied up in a bow and just ready for you to approve on consent kind of thing. So, and lastly, and this really is getting to just, it's a chance to audit ourselves and be better. So one of the things that came out of this, and this is really, Lucy McCarl led this, but Sharon Bryant was very involved. Those are my 2 board chairs. Lucy's chair of the planning board and Sharon is chair of the Board of Adjustment. And we actually adopted, or we're getting ready to adopt, they've reviewed in November and will adopt at the end of this month, new rules of procedure for our land use boards. We previously had 3 different versions of rules of procedure for each board, and we consolidated them into a joint rules of procedure for all the land use boards and cleaned them up. And so all of our conflicting things, and oh boy, it was bad, especially the Board of Adjustment, what's a quorum, who can vote, where's the conflicts, what's expected of board members. Now it's all consistent. So if anybody else staffs boards that need rules of procedure, I'd love to share them because I'm pretty proud of the board and what they pulled together on that one. And we're also working on new housing and zoning enforcement letters. We last summer started using iWork to track all our permitting, and we held off on the code enforcement side of it because we knew we would be redoing all the citations or the code citations within our letters and notices. So we're working on that to get better and clearer, and just make sure all our legal I's are dotted and T's are crossed and we're using the right language so that we've got a really solid record, and it will actually be now digitized and generate those letters automatically. And then we're also, streets and subdivisions are not included, but do have references that have to be updated. When we got in there, we realized some of the standards between the stormwater chapter, the streets chapter, and the subdivision chapter about gutters or swales and curbs on roads and how wide the actual street standards are not entirely consistent. And then we probably have not properly been doing developers agreements or officially enter into cost share agreements and getting dedication of right of way outside of just showing something on a plat, which was really legally insufficient. So that's kind of a big project. It has to be done by July. I suspect late spring is when you'll be seeing that. I've been working with Jared Wright and my staff and his staff in the streets department, Tracy Huffman, street superintendent, to start talking about this stuff of who reviews driveway permits and new plats when you've got various departments involved on those new development items. So we're going to look into that and maybe try to streamline where we can, knowing that staff could get together and review as a technical committee, and then when things do go to council. So that's coming. But that is it. 100+ pages of legal technicality and updates. Any questions?
Anyone have any questions for Jenny concerning this Chapter 160D legislation and changes?
I think I had my answer.
Yeah. Good job.
Thank you.
Your staff and the planning board did a good job of putting this together, and we appreciate the work into that. We are in the public hearing still, so if there's anyone have any questions, anybody from the Zoom audience have any questions, any of our other council members on that, or anyone, our staff, or anybody else have a question or a comment, either one? If
Don't have any
not,
questions. Everything sounds good.
yeah, you did a good job. Not many questions out of it. And I will close the public hearing. We will defer this action until our January 19th meeting. So we will not officially vote on tonight. We will have it at our 19th meeting, January 19th meeting, to vote on this action. So any other discussion about it, you can talk between now and then, any questions that you might have. But we will defer that action at this time. So thank you for that. Thank you, Jenny, for your report. All right, we will move on then to
Mr. Mayor, you'll need to make a motion to defer that for 2 weeks.
oh, yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Hildebrand. Usually you're up here beside me to remind me of that. We will need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion from Councilmember Willis to defer this to the January 19th City Council meeting and defer the action on this. And I will call for the questions if there's no other questions at this time. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And on remote.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. That carries unanimously. So we will then have that on our January 19th meeting. Thank you for that. We'll move on then to consent agenda items. Tonight, having there's minutes from our city council meeting of Tuesday, December 1st, 2020, and the proclamation for our K-9 Axel that we had presented tonight to the family that was here from Officer Sergeant Forges. So I will present those to you as a consent agenda items A and B. Ask for a motion or discussion. No motion from Councilmember Willis to approve the consent agenda items A and B as presented. No discussion or questions. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And on the remote,
Aye. Aye.
okay, thank you. That carries unanimously. Okay, we'll move on then to requests and petitions of any citizens. We do not have any, of course, with us tonight here. Anyone on the Zoom call that would like to have any comments or questions for us, please do that now. Not hearing any, we'll move on then. We do not have any reports of our boards and commissions. So we'll move on to the report and recommendations of our city manager. Remotely tonight, Mr. Hildebrand.
Mayor, council, a couple items for your information this evening. Next Monday, January 11th, you'll have city county services meeting. That'll be held virtually at noon. Also, the Caldwell County EDC will have their virtual meeting on Tuesday, January 12th at 8 a.m. A lot of virtual meetings coming up. ABC Board will have a virtual meeting on Thursday, January 14th, 2 p.m. The Lenora Tourism Development Authority will have a virtual meeting at 4 p.m. on January 14th. That's a Thursday at 4 p.m. And then LBAB, Lenora Business Advisory Board, will have a virtual meeting at 6 p.m. on Thursday, January 14th. And then finally, the last thing is city offices will be closed for the ML King holiday on Monday, January 18th. Tonight, we have one item for your decision. The city took bids on December 18th for some renovations to the Lenora High School auditorium. Kenny Story led that project with Rick Oxford at the COG. Some of the improvements included in that, and Kenny may go over this in more detail, but renovations to the bathrooms in the basement or the downstairs level. I think new carpet in the lobby area. Also some work on the guttering and the downspouts, and also some work maybe, I think sanding and I guess painting the stage. Is that correct, Kenny? Kenny, you're muted.
We'll be sanding it and revarnishing it.
Okay.
That's what we'll be doing.
But anyway, the city received 3 bids for that. The low bid came from construction company out of Granite Falls for $86,384. As you recall, that is coming from our CDBG funds for the renovations, and he has some money left over. He's got some other projects on the drawing board as well. But that's the recommendation, I think, of Kenny's folks and the staff.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation from city staff concerning this bid award for the LHS renovation project. That's the former Lenora High School facility. The recommendation is to accept the low bid in the amount of $86,384 to Precision Construction Company out of Granite Falls, North Carolina, for this project, renovation project as submitted. I'll open it up for any question or discussion or motion.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question.
Okay.
Kenny Story. As part of this renovation, you're going to be doing some work to the stage, and all of these renovations are very necessary. Will this renovation include upgrading the access to the stage itself for those individuals who are handicapped?
We do have plans in place to do that. As I spoke to you earlier back, I don't know, a couple months ago or longer, and we discussed some of that. But we do have plans to, it's not in this phase, but it will be coming probably within a couple months to do some kind of ADA ramp to get people up on the stage that needs to.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions concerning this project? If not, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we award the bid as presented.
I have a motion from Councilmember Beal to award the bid as presented to the Precision Construction Company in the amount of $86,384. No other discussion. I'll call for the question. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And on virtual?
Aye.
Thank you. Anyone else on there? Okay, thank you. All right, that carries unanimously for who was voting on that. We appreciate that and appreciate the work on that, Mr. Story, on that project, and a lot of good things are happening down at Lenore Auditorium, the high school auditorium. That's going to be a great project. It's going to be something that we're going to be proud of using in the future. A lot of good things going on there, including Foothills Performing coming in, and obviously many other things are being planned for that facility. So we appreciate all the work there, and thank you others of our city staff who have been involved with that project. So we do appreciate
Mr. Mayor?
that. Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I will just say that this is just the first step in a lot of things that we do have planned for that facility. These were some of the needs that we thought we needed to start with because these are very important to that facility. But we do have a lot more plans for that whole facility, as well as the gymnasium and some other plans for even Matt Cook Stadium up there. So this is the first of it. Hopefully a lot more to come.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate that. It's a great area. It's something we need to continue to work on and use in so many ways. It's very versatile with the auditorium, the fields, the gym, and the Matt Cook Stadium are all things that we could use, and we're really proud of those. So thank you for all the things that are going on there.
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll move on. Tonight, before I go to the city attorney or some other recommendations, I do have a recommendation, and this is coming to us from the North Carolina League of Municipalities. As we know, every couple of years, the league puts together the municipal advocacy goals that are involved, and that's been going on now for several months and work. I was honored to serve on the North Carolina League's Legislative Policy Committee, and we met over a month, several meetings, 4 meetings actually over a month to consider all the goals. It started out with over 450 ideas or goals potentially coming from over 165 individuals through 114 municipalities across the state, brought goals. These were brought to this committee and from other meetings across the state. Our committee, the Legislative Policy Committee, narrowed it down into, 40, 50 goals, I think, that we presented to the League Board of Directors, with Mr. Willis serves on that, and they, in turn, narrowed it down to 17 proposed advocacy goals, which are to be presented to our North Carolina legislature in the 2021-22 biennium, these goals. What we need you to do, what I need you to do is obviously take a look at these 17 goals. We need to choose a voting delegate from here in the city, and out of that, to look at the 17 goals, we can vote on 10 of those goals of the 17, and we need one voting delegate to represent the city's voting for this. So that's what my question to you is tonight. I was received this from the league, asking that we get a voting delegate together. You should be receiving, and you probably already received, the 17 goals that the league, the Legislative Policy Committee and the League Board of Directors is submitting to our General Assembly over the next 2 years. And on that, we get to vote for 10 of those 17, and that will be compiled. We need to do that by January the 14th, 2021, so that's the reason I'm bringing it to you tonight. So we need to select someone to be our voting delegate. So
Probably different than you or me.
well, that would be fine. Since I served on the committee and Ben also served on the Board of Directors that presented these, if there's anyone who would like to do this, that information will come to you to do that.
When does this take place?
We need to submit our voting for the 10 of the 17 goals by January 14th. So we've got roughly, 9 days?
And then for the delegate?
The delegate needs to be, we need to do that tonight so that delegate could go ahead and what we need as a council, we need to look at all the goals, tell our delegate if we have any that we prefer to be in those 10 of the 17. I mean, there's some that are very clear. that we're gonna obviously want to have included in what we're wanting to propose. And most of them probably are, but anyway, we need to decide on what 10 of those 17, let our delegate know, and then that delegate would submit that vote to, the North Carolina League of Municipalities to be considered. It'll be going on all over the state. All municipalities will be given this opportunity to vote on those. And the top 17 will be presented, but you obviously out of that, we can only vote for 10 of the 17. They will be presented to the General Assembly on that. So
Can we nominate?
yeah, we can nominate whoever you think would be good.
Well, I would, since you, Norman, can serve or be recognized as a delegate, I would like to nominate our Mayor Pro Tem, that if she would consider serving as our delegate for that position.
Okay? Mayor Pro Tem Thomas, are you still on the call?
That'll teach her.
That'll teach you not to.
I see her, she's just muted in her
Is she
camera.
muted? I see is she on there?
Well, she says she's connected, but her video's off in her camera.
That's it, yes.
Well, that's fine, you know, as long as, and Mr. Hildebrand, I know you can help expedite this when you're back in town, and help put this together for, or getting our votes submitted for the 10 goals. So anyway, the council needs to take a look at them and see if there's any that you think, but we have a nomination for our Mayor Pro Tem, Chrissy Thomas, to be our voting delegate for it, and that's fine. If,
Wait a minute, there she
she's
is.
gonna get elected by acclamation.
Chrissy, are you there? I thought I saw her.
Yes, I'm here.
We just nominated you to serve as the delegate for the North Carolina League of Municipalities. Are you cool with that?
I think so. Is that gonna be in person or in Zoom?
You know, it's just a matter of you'll be voting, sending in a ballot from all of us here on the council for there's 17 advocacy goals that the League of Municipalities is proposing to send to our General Assembly, and we can vote on 10 of those. So what we need to do is all the council take a look at the 17 goals, give you the what we vote for and think would be the top 10, and then you would need to submit that ballot by January the 14th back to the league representing the city of Lenore. So it's not something you have to go to or travel to. You do it all from here remotely and send it in. They will, once we select who our delegate is, we'll send that to the league. The league will send you the voting information. All you've got to do is just, once you compile the 10 rules, the goals that we want to do, then you will vote and send it back.
Okay, that sounds great.
Okay? All right, if everyone is in agreement then, Mayor Pro Tem Thomas will be our voting delegate for the advocacy goals for the North Carolina League of Municipalities for the biennium, which is 2021-2022. It'll be for the next two years.
Yep.
On them. And Christian, we have seen a lot of goals. I know you will be seeing them. There are a lot of great goals, a lot of things that we know that we really need to push our legislature to do, especially one of the biggest ones is about COVID and the funding and that kind of thing. So you will see those as you get them together. The league should have already sent those out to all the council members. If you haven't gotten it, we will make sure that you do so that you can take a look at those. So thank you for agreeing to do that. And we will go on from there then. Thank you very much. Scott, you've got that information down. Is that okay?
Yes, and I'm sure City Clerk Shirley Cannon can assist in putting all that together into a form for everybody. So I'll get her on that, to work on that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for that. Okay, we'll move on then. Do we have any report or recommendations from our city attorney, Mr. Ward?
No, sir, but thanks for asking.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate your service. Hope you're staying safe and continuing what things going on. Everybody okay at your house?
So far, so good. Stir crazy after 10 months. I'm about the only one that ever gets out, and going in the courthouse scares me.
We understand completely. So please continue to stay safe.
Thank you.
All right. We'll move in. I have a couple of, board announcements just to make to, bring you up to date quickly from the mayor's office. I have a Business Advisory Board. We have two members who were up for, reappointment, Mr. Tim Biddix and Mr. Matt Underwood. And on our planning board, reappointment, Mr. James Bradshaw, has spoken with them. They all would like to continue their service. So I'll be making that recommendation to you at our January 19th meeting. We also have a vacancy on our Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. Mr. Eric Rabinowitz is no longer has resigned, has moved actually from the Caldwell County into Watauga County, where obviously Mr. Rabinowitz is a professor at Appalachian State and has moved up closer to the university there. So we appreciate his service on our Recreation Board for several years, and his term doesn't expire until February 2022, and we'll be making a recommendation on that. But we do have when we receive those, we do have a vacancy on that, so anyone knows of anyone who would like to apply, not only for that, but any of our seats on any of our boards, we do compile those and keep them, and when we have open seats, we refer to those who have responded that they would like to be a part of serving on our board. Yes, sir, Joshua?
And those, a description of those boards and an application are on the website, cityoflenore.com/boards.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Obviously, anyone who would like to look at that can do that. We do have application forms. Actually, I have some with me tonight that one of the council members asked for copies of. So we'd like to get those filled out whenever we have those, so please do that. But we'll be making some recommendations concerning these at our January 19th meeting. So I just present that to you for your information tonight. And we'll move on then to have any reports or recommendations of any of our council members. Hope everyone is staying safe. Please follow all the guidelines we can as we continue to go through this. If you see anyone from our hospital and our medical staff and our nonprofit agencies, please thank them for what they do every day. I know they are all worn and tired, and would love to see some change of scenery at some point in time. I know it's been terribly tough on all of them, but we appreciate all their hard work. Pray for them every day, and pray for all our community to continue to be as safe as we possibly can. And let's hope these cases in our pandemic will start reducing quickly. Please wear your mask. Stay 6 feet or more apart. Wash your hands when you can. Do all the 3 W's, and let's all try to stay safe together. Now, is there anything else that needs to come before our council tonight? If not, we stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody.